We, we recognize and honor the indigenous peoples as original stewards of this land and vow to reconcile the deep wounds that still shape our world today. Announcements. This morning, our children and youth are meeting with Janin, our Director of Religious Education, in our second Zoom room right now. There is a recent with the link, and our Zoom host will paste the link into the chat for anyone who needs it. Next Sunday, January 21st, we have a guest speaker, Julie Burkhart, founder and CEO of Wellspring Health Access, who recently opened a new abortion clinic in Casper, Wyoming. Julie has been supporting and opening clinics for reproductive rights for 30 years in conservative places across the United States. She has been featured on Democracy Now! In the Washington Post, New York Magazine, and many other media sources. Julie is a UU and has recently moved to Loveland, even though she works out of Washington, D.C. She will be speaking about bringing back reproductive health care. There will be a forum that we will host after the service for Julie, for her to present more information and answer questions. We also have open mic night coming up on Friday at 6:30 p.m. Hope to see you all there. Please take note of all the other events happening this week and this month on our calendar, included in our weekly announcements email.
Good morning, everyone. It's wonderful to see you all this morning. I want to thank Katie Fox for being a part of running our Zoom. Thank you, Katie. We've had a big switch to change over from doing the service in person to suddenly doing it on Zoom, which is a big challenge. So thank you, Katie, for all of your extra hard work. And thank you, AnnMarie Kajencki. Kajencki. Thank you. I just remembered how to pronounce her last name, Kajencki. And this is her first day being a worship associate. So it's an interesting first day. And thank you, AnnMarie, for being with us. A special thanks, of course, to Ryan Marvel for recording some beautiful music for us to share today. And glad to have you part of us. I'm going to move us along and go right into our affirmation. So I invite you to please join with me in saying our morning affirmation, our Sunday morning affirmation. Love is the spirit of this church. You know what? Just for total craziness, I know it'll be chaos, but Katie, let's go ahead and unmute just for this moment, and let's say it together, even though it won't sound together. Can we do that? Okay. Are you all unmuted? Let's try it together, shall we? Love is the spirit of this church, and service it's called. This is our great covenant.
Going to church.
Dwell together in peace, to seek the truth in love, love to help one another. Oh, wonderful. Thank you. Okay, you can mute everyone again. Thank you. That was great. It was nice to hear all of your voices. And now I would like to invite you to share in the spirit of love. We would normally greet each other at this time, but I invite you to post into the chat your name and a brief greeting to everyone, and I'll read some of the comments as they come up, okay? Anyone want to post into the chat the hello? And you can say hello from where you live, like if you're in Windsor or Berthoud or right around the corner? Anyone? Okay, Doug Stewart says, hello, a good morning for Zoom. I'm fighting a bit of a cold. Well, that is another good reason. I hope you get well, Doug. Thank you. Sending warm thoughts from Apache Junction, Arizona from Marcia. Thank you, Marcia. Glad you can join us. Hi, Janet, here in North Loveland. Great, Janet, thank you. Steve and Karen, just back from 85 degrees and sun in the Yucatan. Wow, that's great. Kathy Hartman, hope I didn't pass COVID on to anyone last Sunday. I'm feeling much better. Thanks for soups and sentiments. Oh, good. Hi, Sharon here on another frigid morning. Our dog is happy. That's great. Love, light, and warmth from Elaine to everyone. Wonderful. Thank you. Jennifer Klein, hello to everyone. Gary and I are back and ready to come back in person as soon after so long. That's wonderful. Thank you, Jennifer. Ocean Cat and Clay, say hi from around the corner in Loveland. Great. Wonderful. Good morning from the empty sanctuary. That's from Katie. Katie is running Zoom from our empty sanctuary. And good morning to everyone. Stay warm and safe from Sally Henry. Wonderful. Thank you, everyone. Feel free to continue pasting your greetings for a few moments as we listen to I Wish I Knew How, played by Ryan on the piano. Thank you.
For the chalice lighting today, we have the poem titled The Flames of Love by Reverend Kimmy Floyd Reich. We light the flame of commitment to stand with and work to create change until all know they are beloved. We light the flame of survival, grateful for our lives, remembering in love those lost along the road. We light the flame of change, committing to recenter toward love in hearts, in minds, in our world. We light the flame of hope, loving each other, building community, even when it is uncomfortable. We light the flame of knowledge, following the path of justice, justice that is love embodied. We light this flame of radical love to speak out for those who have been silenced, for those who have been rejected for whom they love, those who have been persecuted for who they are, those who have been bullied for daring to be bold, those who have been othered and forced into margins, those who have been lonely, those who have been hurt, those who are still hurting. We light this flame as a people committed. We are survivors. We will change the world. Until no one lives without hope, until no one lives without justice, we light this flame and pledge that in love, with love, and through love, all things are possible.
Thank you, AnnMarie, and I hope many of you were lighting your chalice as well. Thanks for joining in on the lighting. Feel free to light a candle or something else to go with it to hold your light. I'd like to share a time for all ages today. Even though our kids are not joining us in the service, this is a great story, and it's an important story to tell on this Martin Luther King Sunday that we are celebrating today. This is called the March at Selma. In February of 1965, the United States was at another turning point in the civil rights movement. The Civil Rights Act had been passed in 1964, but critical rights were still not legally secured for African Americans. Black men and women routinely faced physical violence, biased literacy tests, and other obstacles when they attempted to register to vote. In Selma, Alabama, African Americans attempts to register had been met with an injunction by local judges forbidding groups of 2 or more to talk about civil rights. Organizers with the Southern Christian Leadership Coalition, led by the Reverend Dr. Martin Luther King Jr., and including James Bevel, had begun to work on voter registration campaigns and protests in response. On February 18th, during a protest in nearby Marion, 26-year-old Baptist deacon Jimmy Lee Jackson was shot by police as he tried to protect his grandfather from their beating. 8 days later, Jackson died from those wounds. Surrounding communities erupted in grief and anger, and James Bevel called for a march to Montgomery, the capital of Alabama, to protest police violence and demanding voting rights from Governor George Wallace. More than 500 people showed up to march the 54 miles to Montgomery on March 7th, 1965. As they approached the Edmund Pettus Bridge just outside Selma, state troopers arrived on the order of Governor Wallace and told the marchers to turn back. When the marchers refused, the troopers attacked with nightsticks and tear gas, while mounted divisions charged into the crowds on horseback. Televised images of the encounter shocked the nation. 17 marchers were hospitalized, and that day became known as Bloody Sunday. Dr. King immediately called for a second march, issuing a call to clergy and others around the country to participate. One who responded was Unitarian Universalist Reverend James Reeb. Another religious leader who answered the call was the conservative Jewish rabbi Abraham Joshua Herschel, who had escaped the Holocaust just before World War II and was a longtime ally of the civil rights movement. On March 9th, 2,500 people were present to repeat the march. But again, they only reached the Edmund Pettus Bridge. A judge had temporarily forbidden marching until the state troopers' roll could be examined in court, and the SCLC organizers decided to temporarily obey. The marchers returned to Selma to prepare for a third attempt. That night, Reverend Reeb and the Unitarian Universalist ministers Clark Olson and Orloff Miller had dinner at an integrated restaurant, one that welcomes Blacks and whites. As they were leaving, they were easily identified as outsiders and therefore civil rights marchers by some angry local men who attacked the ministers with clubs. Reverend James Reeb's skull was cracked and he died. The death of a white man brought a level of national outrage among other whites that Jimmy Lee Jackson's death had not inspired. Protests were held around the country, and in response to the death, the march, and the years of pressure, President Lyndon Baines Johnson introduced a Voting Rights Act to Congress on March 15, 1965. The march, however, was still left to be completed. On March 21st, tens of thousands set forth from Selma for a 5-day, 4-night trek to the state capitol. Rabbi Herschel and Reverend King led the march, linked arm in arm. Heschel would later say that when they walked, it was as if his legs were praying. When the highway became thinner, some marchers walked through, while others were transported by volunteer drivers, including Unitarian Universalist Viola Liuzzu. Liuzzu was a white woman, a mother of 5, a new member of the Unitarian Universalist movement, and a resident of Detroit. She was also someone who believed that the racism in the United States was unacceptable, and when she heard the call for volunteers, she went. The night of that final march, Viola was driving an African-American activist to Montgomery when a car full of Ku Klux Klan members started following them and shouting threats. As you may know, the KKK is America's most infamous hate group. Still existing today, the KKK targets Blacks, Jews, immigrants, homosexuals, and others. Viola sang songs of freedom in response to them harassing her. And miles later, on a lonely stretch of road, the KKK members pulled up and shot Viola through the window, killing her. Viola's death brought a fresh wave of outrage. National response grew as television broadcasts showed the marchers' determination and the power of Dr. King's speech when the marchers arrived at Montgomery. Just months later, on August 6, 1965, the Voting Rights Act passed into law. The Christians, Jews, Unitarian Universalists, and others who worked together to march from Selma to Montgomery had changed our country for forever.
And I was the youngest person to do so. I was determined to let Wallace see what he had done to me.
lot of people spat on us. A lot of white clanners were there, a lot of white supremacists.
Oh, come on, put a gun in. This rebel flag right here.
And further ahead still, segregationists have been at work too, putting up posters on the roadside accusing Dr. Luther King of being communist trained. Another propaganda too, this time from the air. Light planes are dropping leaflets calling on white employers to sack their Negro workers.
Ain't gonna let nobody turn me around, turn me around, turn me around. Ain't gonna let nobody turn me around. I just keep on walking, keep on talking, marching on the freedom line. Ain't gonna let nobody, can't let them turn me around, Lord, turn me around. Ain't gonna let nobody turn me around. I just keep on walking, oh, I keep on because I'm marching on the freedom line. Ain't gonna let no jailhouse, can't let it turn me around, turn me around. Ain't gonna let no jailhouse turn me around, you know, I keep on, I just keep on, because I'm marching on the freedom line. I can't let segregation turn me around, turn me around. Ain't gonna let segregation turn me around. I just keep on walking, keep on talking, marching on the freedom line.
It was nothing but jubilation.
When we at the Capitol and Wallace is up in the window, peeping behind the blinds, and he didn't come out to see my bandage over my head that covered the 7 stitches.
We had marched that 50 miles that they told us that we weren't gonna march.
They had to surrender the steps of the Capitol. It's a very triumphant moment.
They told us we wouldn't get here. There were those who said that we would get here only over their dead bodies. Well, all the world today knows that we are here and we are standing before the forces of power in the state of Alabama saying we ain't gonna let nobody turn us around.
I was a doctor. Nothing did for us what that did.
Keep on walking, keep on talking, marching on the freedom line.
Powerful to see those images, isn't it? That clip was actually from the movie Soundtrack to a Revolution. So if you might want to check that movie out sometime, Soundtrack to a Revolution. Now we're going to take our morning offering, and there are a couple of ways that you can donate. In the next slide, there will be a QR code, or you can go ahead and bring up our next slide. Yeah, which has the QR code. And Katie will also post into the chat the link to donate. And as you know, each week we support the work of this congregation and all the ways that we live our values in the world, such as participating in anti-racism work since the time of before the Civil War. In addition to supporting this church, half of your donations go to help a nonprofit Beyond Our Walls. And this month, appropriately so, in January and February, our donations are going to Heart and Soul of Loveland. This local nonprofit made up of Black, Indigenous, people of color, and allies working to promote ethnic, and cultural diversity in the Loveland community with partnerships throughout northern Colorado. They look to inspire conversations and influence local change by engaging with individuals, organizations, and community resources. Their goal is to support, celebrate, and embrace cultural richness for our community. Heart and Soul is the organizer of the Martin Luther King Jr. Loveland celebration tomorrow, Monday, January 15th at Mountain View High School in Loveland at 6:00 p.m. So please give generously as we listen to Ella's song performed by Resistance Revival Chorus.
We who believe in freedom cannot rest. We who believe in freedom cannot rest until it comes. We who believe in freedom cannot rest. We who believe in freedom cannot rest until it comes. Until the killing of black men, black mothers, sons is as important as the killing of white men, white mothers, sons. We who believe in freedom cannot rest. We who believe in freedom cannot rest until it comes. Not needing to clutch for power, not needing the light just to shine on me. I need to be just one in the number as we stand against tyranny. To me, young people come first. They come first. They have the courage where we fail. If I can just shine a light on as they carry us through the gale. We who believe in freedom cannot rest. We who believe in freedom cannot rest until it comes. I'm a woman who speaks in a voice, and I must be heard. At times I can be quite difficult. I'll bow to no man's word. We who believe in freedom cannot rest. We who believe in freedom cannot rest until it comes. Come on, say, we who believe in freedom cannot rest. We who believe in freedom cannot rest until it comes. We who believe in freedom, we cannot rest. We cannot rest. We who believe in freedom, we cannot rest. We cannot rest. We who believe in freedom, we cannot rest. We cannot rest. We who believe in freedom, we cannot rest. We cannot rest. We who believe in freedom, we cannot rest. We will not rest. We who believe in freedom, we cannot rest. We will not rest. We who believe in freedom, we cannot rest. We will not rest. We who believe in freedom, we cannot rest. We will not rest. We who believe in freedom cannot rest. We who believe in freedom cannot rest until come on, sing now. We who believe in freedom cannot rest. We who believe in freedom cannot rest until it comes.
Thank you. Oh, such a powerful video. I pulled out all my favorites for you all today. Now we're going to do our joys and sorrows, which is a bit of a challenge on Zoom. but it is a very important part of our lives. So this is when we hold each other in our beloved community, and when we come together to support each other, which we can still do on Zoom. And I'm glad you're here to be with us. So today I ask that you post your joy or sorrow into the chat, and I will read them out. And for each one, if we could make the visual sign of patting our hearts to demonstrate that we hold each other in our hearts. And I invite you now to actually go to gallery view, which I'm also going to do, to see each other. And if your camera is off, I understand if you want to keep it off, but I invite you to turn your camera on just so that we can see each other. Oh, great. Thank you. It's wonderful to see each of you. So we'll take a little time, but please go ahead and paste into the chat if you have any joys and concerns that you would like to share today. I hope everyone is staying nice and warm. And I also hope nobody showed up at the church, but someone might have. There are signs on the doors. So I think it's okay if I share with you that Leonard Sokolowski has pneumonia and has been in and out of the hospital, I believe. And I think he's doing better, last I heard, but may we hold Leonard Sokolowski in our hearts as he recovers from a serious case of pneumonia. Can you pat your, oh, I love that. Steve and Karen clicked reactions. They did a heart. It's lovely. That's a nice way to go. And you can pat your heart or use the heart icon. That's lovely. Other joys and concerns, sorrows. And I guess if you have something, it probably would work if you raise your hand, and maybe Katie could unmute you. I don't know, it's pretty hard to see everybody is the thing. Well, I guess you're all doing fine out there. Oh my goodness. Nobody's posting or saying anything, so I hope that's all good news. So I'm just giving you a little, Katie says she's getting some direct messages, so I'm not seeing messages. Okay, Katie, do you want to go ahead and read those then, since I'm not seeing any posts? Maybe you have to change the setting on the chat. Thanks everybody for hanging with us. It's not easy to, switch on a dime, and I think really appreciate Katie's help. Katie, do you have some to read? Oh, you don't have a microphone. This is interesting. Sorry, I can't read them. Okay, all right. So from Janet, you have, my concern is for my brother Robert. His surgery last month was successful, but the living condition he's in is a very dangerous situation. Oh, Janet, I'm sorry. Oh, gosh. I hope things are okay for him. We pat our hearts and we hold you with love for your brother Robert. Thank you. And Doug Stewart says, thanks to Pete for turning off the water. Thank you, Pete. Woohoo. Thank you, Pete. Yes, Apparently the pipes have burst twice in the past, so this is a good thing to keep those pipes safe. And from Vicky, Vicky here with a joy to finally have my energy back, yay, but have concern for so many, including my hubby Tom, who have sicknesses of one kind or another. Yes, we hold you in our hearts, Vicky. We're so glad you're feeling better. And for all who are experiencing any kind of illness, we hold you in our hearts and hope that you recover quickly. And Janin posts that I am so excited to launch our 2024 Mystery Pal program this week. We have some wonderful kids signed up to get a Mystery Pal, so if you adults could step forward, we will match friends up. Count me in, Janin. Yeah, all right, you bet. Great. So we hold our kids in our hearts, absolutely, and our relationship with our kiddos. Thanks for being a part of that. And Jeannie Miller shares that I share my birthday with Martin Luther King tomorrow. So happy birthday, Jeannie. That's great. Hold you in our hearts. And Caitlin tells us that my roommate, who is in a custody battle, is having her second court date this week. Last court date was successful in that the restriction of the parenting time was sustained, but had a lawyer who won't be with her this time. Appreciate prayers for peace and justice. Absolutely. We hold your roommate in our hearts and send love and prayers for peace and justice to prevail. Wonderful. Thank you everyone for posting. Anyone else? Okay. Well, I'm going to move us into just holding, let's just put our hands on our hearts and just take a moment in silence to hold all of the unspoken joys and concerns, worries, anxieties that we hold ourselves and for all of those in our community. Sending love to each and every one of you in a great web of love for our beloved community from each other. It's great to see your faces. And may we hold with love all people who are Black or Indigenous, people of color, who suffer injustice, microaggressions, lack of opportunities, and lack of privilege that people who are white have. May we continue to work for justice. And now I would like to invite you to join with me in a meditation. And you actually have a part in this meditation to respond with all of us need all of us to make it. All of us need all of us to make it. The Reverend Teresa Soto writes these words. As a person of color, she says, please take a moment to center the struggle for Black lives in your thoughts and respond with me. All of us need all of us to make it. In a world where some of us are targeted for struggle and brutality, where others of us benefit and flourish, we pray. All of us need all of us to make it. In a world where powerful people of ill will and indifference make us fearful for our safety and our futures, we pray. All of us need all of us to make it. In the excruciating space that lives between seeing and naming and hearing and changing, we pray. All of us need all of us to make it. So make a picture in your mind of someone you aren't very happy with right now. Look at their face in your mind and say, all of us need all of us to make it. And pull into your mind the image of a person who is Black or Indigenous or a person of color, and say to them, all of us need all of us to make it. Unitarian Universalists believe all of us need all of us to make it. This is why we are here in solidarity with the movement for Black lives, today and every day. Amen. All of us need all of us to make it. A story of racial injustice, a story of a cover-up, a story of violence and tragedy ending in death right in our backyard in Aurora, Colorado. So heartbreaking that the First Unitarian Brooklyn Choir and composer Bill Haley wrote and performed this piece of music as a lament to Elijah McClain. Do you know about Elijah McClain? You've probably heard in the news about the story, and finally, after all this time, the recent convictions that have come and sentencing for the two paramedics and one of the police officers. But did you know that he had been a massage therapist for 4 years? He had never been arrested or charged with a crime. Friends and families describe him as a spiritual seeker, a pacifist, an oddball, a vegetarian, an athlete, and a peacemaker who is exceedingly gentle. Honestly, I can imagine him in one of our UU congregations. While still a teenager, he taught himself how to play the violin and the guitar. And during lunch breaks, he brought his instruments to animal shelters and played for the abandoned animals, believing that music would put them at ease. Friends said that his gentleness with animals extended to humans as well. One of his clients recalled him as the sweetest, purest person I have ever met, and he was definitely a light in a whole lot of darkness. An acquaintance said, "I don't even think he would set a mouse trap if there was a rodent problem." So what makes his story special? Every story is special. Every story is about a human being. And we need to remember him as a human being. But Elijah was a gentle, law-abiding soul, doing nothing wrong, walking back to his home just a block away. He might have been also singing and dancing a bit as he was walking. And someone called the police because he looked sketchy. He lost his life because someone called the police because he looked sketchy. Like so many who experienced prejudice and violence and death, he was a kind, gentle, unique human being who deserved to live. He's not the only one. He reminds us of this long, long history that we'd rather not see. Our theme this month is the gift of liberating love. The First Unitarian Brooklyn Choir is reminding us to not look away. As painful as it may be, not look away, but instead to look deeply, to let ourselves be heartbroken, to see and know the truth, to let ourselves love this young man, his very humanness that is so easily erased in news reports. And the choir leaves us with the question, what will we do? Our fellow Unitarian Universalists ask us, what will we do? As a celebration, as we celebrate the life and legacy of Martin Luther King Jr. today, he who led thousands and eventually millions to stand up against systemic racial injustice, let us heed his call. Quote, "As my suffering mounted, I soon realized that there were two ways in which I could respond to my situation. Either to react with bitterness or to seek to transform the suffering into a creative force. I decided to follow the latter course." He also said, "Hatred paralyzes life. Love releases it. Hatred confuses life, and love harmonizes it. Hatred darkens life, and love illuminates it. To meet hate with retaliatory hate would do nothing but intensify the existence of evil in the universe. We must meet the forces of hate with the power of love. How do we do that? Our theme for the month of January is the gift of liberating love. The path of nonviolence is the path of liberating love. But how do we do that? We first must settle into our hearts and allow our hearts to be broken open to feel this love, this overwhelming, heart-wrenching love for people on the margins, suffering violence and hurt every day because of the color of their skin. Liberating love is not easy. In fact, it is hard, painful, and heartbreaking, I know. But our hearts must be broken open to be able to show up for people of color who are suffering. As Unitarian Universalists, we were by Dr. King's side. We had the most clergy participating in the march on Selma and to Montgomery, which may be why the two white martyrs that helped wake up the country and the politicians were Unitarian Universalists. Did you know that in 1966, Dr. King was invited to be the Ware lecturer at our Unitarian Universalist General Assembly? His opening words to thousands of Unitarian Universalists included, "There are those wonderful moments in life when you speak before a group that is so near and dear to you that you don't feel like you have to engage in the art of persuasion. You don't feel like you are in the midst of strangers. You know that you are with friends, and I can assure you that I feel that way tonight." Isn't that great? Dr. King saying. And just a note, that was in 1966. The merger between the Unitarians and the Universalists happened in 1961. So this is just 5 years later. Well, we have been friends of this cause long before that, even before the Civil War. So he goes on to talk about the importance of not sleeping through the revolution. And if you want to read the entire presentation, I encourage you to do so. Just go to the UUA website and type in Dr. Martin Luther King Ware lecture. That's W-A-R-E, Ware lecture. You can read the whole thing for yourself. But he goes on to say, "I think it is necessary to refute the idea that there are superior and inferior races. We must get rid of the notion once and for all that it is out of this notion that the whole doctrine of white supremacy came into being, and the church must take a stand through religious education and other channels to direct the popular mind at this point. For there are some people who believe this strange doctrine. Now, fortunately, I'm sure you don't have any Unitarian Universalists who believe this, but I think some of my Baptist brothers around the South believe it, and I would like to get your help to help me out with some of my brothers." We did help, and we are continuing to help. The revolution continues, Dr. King, and we are not sleeping. Anybody asleep out there? We are not sleeping. We don't always get it right, and we are still learning how to do this work well, but we are not sleeping through the revolution. As Unitarian Universalists, we say that we are the love people, the ones who stand on the side of love, the ones who answer the call of love. Love is the spirit of this church. As Unitarian Universalists, love has always been at the center of who we say we are. All of our values, all that informs how we live, is built on the foundation of love. We have to remind ourselves of this often because it is easy to lose track. It is easy to let our hearts close and to forget to be centered in love. To be the best allies for our Black, Indigenous, people of color siblings is to give the gift of liberating love. For none of us will be liberated unless we are all liberated together. And we have our part to play, just as we have been playing it for hundreds of years now, actually. But this love feels like deep grief when our hearts break open from racial violence and death. This love looks like anger when beloveds suffer violence from racial injustice. This love looks like protests in the streets when injustice perpetuates racial harm. And this love reminds us that at our best, we are concerned for others who are suffering, putting them at the center, not ourselves. This love implores us to use our privilege and share our privilege in a way that improves the lives of those on the margins. This love is the power that holds us together and is at the center of who we are. When we say love is the spirit of this church and service its call, this is what that sentence means. When we walk our talk, we are putting love at the center, all the ways we can put love at the center. This is the common path that we walk towards together for freedom for all. In closing, I'd like to share Dr. King's closing remarks in the Ware lecture. I had to edit it down a bit. He said, "Let me say in conclusion that I have not despaired of the future. I believe firmly that we can solve this problem. Our goal for America is freedom. Abused and scorned though we may be, our destiny is tied up with America's. Before the Pilgrims' fathers landed in Plymouth, we were here. For more than 2 centuries, our forebears labored here without wages. They made cotton king. They built the homes of their masters in the midst of the most oppressive and humiliating conditions. And yet, out of a bottomless vitality, they continue to grow and develop. If the inexpressible cruelties of slavery couldn't stop us, the opposition that we now face will surely fail. Because somehow we know the arc of the moral universe is long, but it bends towards justice. We shall overcome because Carlyle is right. No lie can live forever. We shall overcome because William Cullen Bryant is right. Truth crushed will rise again. With this faith, we will be able to hew out of the mountain of despair a stone of hope. We will be able to transform the jangling discords of our nation into a beautiful symphony of brotherhood and speed up that day when all of God's children all over the nation and the world will be able to walk the earth as brothers and sisters. And then we can sing in the words of the old Negro spiritual, free at last, join with me, free at last, thank God Almighty, we are free at last. Thank you. Freedom, the freedom to be one's truest, best self. Freedom to walk home from the store and to be treated equally by all. This is what we want and what we wish for our Black, Indigenous people of color, siblings and friends. We decenter our whiteness to center people of color and celebrate all that they have accomplished in the midst of the great adversity every day. So in closing, I would like to share with you an award-winning music video by the incredible musician and performer, Jon Batiste, called Freedom. It is a celebration of life from his beloved New Orleans.
When I move my body just like this, I don't know why, but I feel like freedom. I hear a song that takes me back, and I let go with so much freedom. When I live, I'm gonna get, 'cause it's my freedom. I love how you talk, you speak in my language, the way that you walk, you can't contain it. Is it the shoes? Jumping kangaroo. We're overdue for a little more present. Now it's your time. You can shine. If you do, I'ma do too. When I move my body just like this, I don't know why, but I feel like freedom. I hear a song that takes me back, and I let go with so much freedom. When I live, I'm gonna get, 'cause it's my freedom. Get down and to get back up. If someone's around, let him look. You can't stand still. This ain't no drill. More than cheap thrills. Now it's your time. You can shine. If you do, I'ma do too. 'Cause when I look up to the stars, I know exactly who we are. 'Cause then I see you shine, you shining, you shining.
Everybody come on, everybody come on, everybody.
I'm stuck to the dance floor with the whole team, with the whole team. I'm stuck to the dance floor with the whole team, with the whole team. You give me what you ask for, give me the whole shit. I'ma give you the whole shit. I'm stuck to the dance floor with the whole team, with the whole team. I say yeah, oh yeah. 'Cause you do, I'ma do too.
Everybody.
I'm stuck to the dance floor with the whole team, with the whole team. I'm stuck to the dance floor with the whole team, with the whole team. You give me what you ask for, give me the whole shit. I'ma give you the whole shit. I'm stuck to the dance floor with the whole team, with the whole team. I say yeah, oh yeah. 'Cause you do, I'ma do too. When I move my body just like this, I don't know why, but I feel like freedom. I hear a song that takes me back, and I let go with so much freedom. When I live, I'm gonna get, 'cause it's my freedom.
So as we extinguish our chalice, I share with you the words of Unitarian Universalist minister Kristen Harper. Look at me, she says. I am black and you are white, but I too am beautiful. Look at my face, my hair, my clothes. They may be different, but aren't they worthy of your gaze? Look at my walk, the way my hips sway to the music in my soul, and the way my proud neck tilts to the sun. Yes, look at me. Look at my darkness. It contains light and love, rebirth and growth. Look at my pain. Don't turn away. Look at the way you see me. I am human. I have tears and fears. I have laughter and joy. Look at me and walk with me. I too am beautiful. And in response, may we all say, yes, 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 you are beautiful, and we walk with you. May it be so. Amen. And from Ryan, we're going to feature a song from Ryan next that I really wanted to share with you. And he pointed out that this particular song called Overwhelm is in the spirit of We Shall Overcome. This piece is about rising above injustice and walking forward, being your best self. As you will see in the video, he says, the left hand continually crosses over the right hand, always rising. This represents the effort to live with integrity and compassion no matter what. In this time of cruel headlines and vitriol and negativity that has the potential to do harm, we should attempt to overwhelm hatred and cowardice with love and light. Overwhelm darkness and injustice with compassion. It takes strength and courage, no question, but it is important to give power to voices to not give power to voices filled with rage that are rooted in insecurity, false judgment, or fear. Tell your own story, he says. Love, listen, and be your best self. We will have virtual coffee hour after Ryan's piece, so stick around and I'll explain how that works. Many thanks to Ryan for that beautiful piece of music. I'm going to ask Katie to put the next, our last slide up. And it's actually important that we somewhere have the music streaming licenses. You might not have noticed those, but we have to show that at some point in our video. So for those of you who would like to visit, Katie will randomly assign everyone to breakout rooms of about 4 or 5 people each, depending. Okay, that should work. You can accept the room that you're assigned to or not accept it and stay in the main room if you want. You can also leave the breakout room anytime you would like and return to the main room. The breakout session will be around 10 minutes, and you can ask Katie to do another round of breakouts after that if you would like. I have to, unfortunately, go to another meeting. So I think whenever Katie is ready, just go ahead and assign people and okay. Have fun. You might want to stop screen share now if you would like. Awesome. Okay. Looks good. So I didn't join a room, Katie. So I think I'll go ahead and sign off so I can sign on to my next meeting. But thank you very much. Really appreciate all your help. And thanks to everybody for being a part of it. Bye. Have a great Sunday. Stay warm, everybody.